Look alive, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Millie Goats. I'm AK, your host. We are at episode 400. How about that? Happy Sunday night. We're actually kind of time traveling here as we're doing a little recording. It's episode 400. Happy Memorial Day to everybody, all the troops. Don't forget to text your friends. If you have any military friends, anybody in your family, all that stuff. That's the reason we're able to get together and do those kinds of things. Happy National Brothers Day as well. We've got that going on. This is a very special show. We've got football is officially back. We've been talking NFL. We've been talking college football. One of the biggest topics in the world is the college football playoff expansion. It's dominating all the internet. And we have got a very special guest for tonight's show. A somebody who we have come across on the social medias that does excellent work in the comments. That's how things kind of start. It started a channel and a brand of his own, who does some really, really good stuff on YouTube, on all the socials, makes great graphics, really does a lot of in-depth work. You know, like we always say, we're people that love watching football. We absolutely love football. Then you come across people who really love football by doing the dirty work of how you get to making predictions and how you get to learning about the transfer portal, learning about how to power rank teams, learning about all that stuff. We've got a guy from 0&0Sports. F is for football. His name is Colton. We're going to bring him in right now. He's done excellent work all over the place. We've got all of his links in the comment or in the description of the show. His YouTube, all of his socials, that sort of thing. We're excited to have you on because we have a lot to talk about. You have agreed on some things and we have disagreed on others, and that's what makes college football great, and that's what we're allowed to do that, dude. So welcome to the show, Colton. Tell everybody first of all, how you doing?
I'm doing great now that I'm here talking ball with a fellow ball knower.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
The big thing is, I mean, everybody's yelling about college football. Right now it's the hottest topic, and I love it because it gives us stuff to talk about, right? Like if you're somebody like us who creates content, who I wouldn't say creates content, but loves just talking about football. Like we're not trying to create content. We're just trying to talk ball. And the reason we're talking ball, probably the same reason you are, is because you got sick and tired of watching everybody get up there and start presenting information that you know is not correct. And so what you have to do, if it makes you mad, people say, well, do something about it. And that's exactly what you did. And you started 0&0Sports. I'd love to know when that started. I'd love to know what inspired the name. I'd love to know all that. So please take some time to tell us about that.
Yeah, so it started off ironically as a college project, as my final project for, graduating college. And It just kind of originally was a little, the formatting of it was you had to do some kind of project that had a clear like beginning, middle, end, and like the processes and all of it. So I figured I love college football. Let me make a college football podcast. I think there was a couple episodes to begin with, either 2 or 3 that I did with a couple friends. And it started from there. I got the name just because of the old adage from coaches, going into the halftime locker room, act like the score is 0-0, 0-0.
Nice.
0-0. And that's how I like to approach every day, approach everything. It's like, I'm not gonna pretend that because my last post got 100 likes or whatever, that just means I'm cool. Just pretend like it's 0-0. The same as if I get roasted, if one of my opinions goes wrong, if I mess up a prediction wildly, don't let it affect me. Just move on to the next thing. And I feel like you can take that into life. It's one of my favorite adages. Just people call it coach speak, but a lot of coach speak comes from just truth,
it's experience.
Everyday truth. Yeah.
You get feedback in real time when you're playing football, when you're watching football. Like you do something, it either works or it does not. So therefore, and you have a series of that throughout the day. So it's a microcosm. That's why people love football, of a collection of people working together that immediately get football, that get feedback that says you did that right, you did that wrong. And as humans, we respond very well to that. We do not respond well to waiting things out.
Right.
And having patience. Right. So football gives us that over and over and over again, every single play. And that's why we love it.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I 100% agree. So that's where the name came from. It started, and then eventually I just shifted to more like shorter form, 10 to 20 minute videos. I've done everything from retrospective videos to kind of I guess you would say autobiographies of people to just weekly predictions and top tens and all that. There's so many ways to view the sport, and I'm not a coach. I'm not a player. So I just view it from the way that I can view it, the best way that I know how, which is just crunching the numbers, noticing patterns, looking at, I guess
Did you
Twitter.
build a robot?
I did. I have a robot. He's currently in hibernation because he only really works during the season. But I did that, and then I built 2 metrics, SVE and good. Those are my 2 ratings that I created. Those are more like, what would you say? They're not in season prediction. Like my Todd is his name, the robot.
Yeah.
He's he's like an advanced I guess you would say efficiency metric, whereas SVE and good kind of look back at teams over 3 to 5 year stretches and see actually how good they are. Because I feel like a lot of it gets muddied when you talk to like certain fans. It started, with talking to specific fan bases who kind of see their teams in a little bit less of an objective lens. So they're like, oh, this is absolutely unacceptable. So I was like, how can we narrow this down to just a finite number and measure actually how good they've performed versus expectation versus preseason win totals with SP plus, all these advanced predictive analytics and
stuff.
Which
are the dumbest things ever. I hate those.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like I understand, but I'm a firm believer that there shouldn't be rankings until about week 5 to week 6.
Yeah, and I get that. Yeah.
That's my opinion. That's what we haven't seen anything, we don't know. They'll rank Missouri 23rd, and then they'll win their first 8 games that they play at home, and they'll be like, wow, this is great. Look at Missouri, another SEC dominant. And then they get to playing some decent teams, whether it's in the SEC or not. And then they wind up 8-4 real quick. And then they're still just letting them hang around 23-20. That is one of my biggest pet peeves of college football.
Yeah. And I wouldn't go to say that they are useless. Just because like you said, we don't know. We can get an idea of how good teams are going to be based on coaching. Like we can assume Indiana's probably going to be pretty good this year. We can assume Ohio State, Georgia, they're going to be pretty good, but we don't know. So I get that, not wanting to kind of give teams a label, a number that shows that they're going to stick to. I think if we're going to have them, which we're going to have them, it's a foregone conclusion. Why stick to, if Ohio State loses in week 1, drop them down to 24. If we have Missouri, like you said, ranked 15 and they lose their first 2 games, it needs to be in those first 4 or 5 weeks. It needs to be completely fluid. Because they haven't earned the number at the beginning of the year. They're just given a number.
Like I make rankings and people sometimes it's tongue in cheek, but I really do value the fact that if you're 1-0, you're one of the teams that have done what you're half the teams are going to lose, half of them are going to win. If you've lost, you haven't earned a spot yet. I don't care how good you think you are, how good everybody thought you would be, or what your recruiting numbers say. You went out there and lost. You either at some point, winning and losing has to matter. Not what I think you would win or how I think you might perform. If you lose, you lose. Like I think the objectivity that is, and I guess we'll kind of get into this. This is one of my biggest issues is the objectivity of college football is we're trying to create a bunch of things that we want to be objective, when in reality they're kind of subjective, right? The only objective thing, in my opinion, totality, is the conferences. But that's so muddy now that you can't even have that, right? It used to be you won your conference. That was my whole thing is but now they've screwed up the conferences so bad that you can't. It's useless. But I think that was intentional. Like that's my whole point of this. Like I was getting into an argument with the SEC numbers guy, and he's like, in the last year, no, it was. And I was like, dude, what I meant was before everything started, this NIL transfer portal, trending patterns were trending in the right direction where G5 was kind of closing the gap. I'm not saying they were going to catch the Power 4, but they were closing the gap from a 13% win rate to about a 30 to 40% by about 2022 to 2023. I was looking at numbers and stats, and over the last couple of years, that has not been the case because NIL and transfer portal have completely robbed the G5. They're like a developmental program now, like it's a developmental league. And so it's 100%. Not going to be the same anymore. It won't. Like the G5 of this year and last year is not the same. Like what JMU did was freaking incredible, in my opinion. So, anyways, I don't know where you stand with all that. That was a lot of information, but I could yell about
No,
that for hours.
no, I 100% agree. It's been great for the Power Four. It's been great for parity across the absolute top. And you've seen the 12-team format as a reaction to that. I won't say the playoff itself created that. I don't believe that the playoff created the parity. I think that, like you said, the NIL transfer portal, that whole thing has created parity at the top, the very tip top of college football. But for the G5, like you said, it's only hurt because there's no way some of these smaller schools, some of these Sun Belt CUSA schools are going to be able to compete financially with Georgia, with Alabama, with these teams. And it's good for teams like Miami who now get to use their money, their funds.
They were kind of the originators. They're one of the OGs of doing
right.
this.
They get to use their money to get talent from Florida to come to Miami instead of going to Florida, Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama. It's good for those teams, and it creates more parity at the top, like I said, but really leaves the bottom. And I that sounds a bit rude to say the bottom, but I mean,
it
if
is
you're
what it
talking
is.
financially, it's leaps and bounds behind where the top of the Power Four is.
Yeah. Oh, see, I love this. We're gonna get into this. Do you have any by the way, less than 100 days to college football. Do you have any affiliation or favorite teams? Or are you kind of fairly objective? Are you an NFL guy? Do you have? I mean, tell us a little bit about your sporting fandom.
It's a mixed bag. If we're talking basketball, I got that right here, but it's not geographic. That's okay. I like to. No, does it continue?
I grew up in North Carolina, dude. Like if you're a Carolina person, you have the right to have teams that are from all over the place because I didn't have pro teams when I was growing up.
Right.
I didn't have pro teams.
Right. In the Carolinas. I like to make the joke that my dad was a 90s bandwagon, but there's reasons for why I am the way I am. So in the NFL, it's the Cowboys, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh.
As I can see, you're probably
my drink there.
Yeah.
Two of the guys on the show are Cowboys fans.
I'm not happy about it either. Trust me. I like to say I'm a bigger hater of the Cowboys than most Cowboys haters.
You're not delusional. You don't walk around every year and be like, "Hey, this is the year." Now, I don't know if Cowboys fans actually if they're doing it just to play the part right now, because I have a lot of friends that are like, "Hey, if we can just get," I'm like, "Are you doing this on purpose, or do you actually believe that Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones are going to right the ship that they haven't righted since they've been there? Like, what are we doing here?"
No, I think it's genuine, but they will be what they are. In college, I'm a Nebraska fan also, unfortunately.
Really?
So, which is the foil to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
in college where we were good in the 90s, but not anymore. Yeah.
Crayola, dude. How fun was that experience?
I mean, it needed to happen. I wasn't as bent out of shape about it as I think most were. I like to view everything, from it's hard to zoom out when you're a fan. Sure. Me having done this and evaluating teams on a national standpoint gives me that objectivity, I think. And I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal saying I'm smarter than everybody.
No, dude. But
like I can view Nebraska in relation to a Minnesota or in relation to a Georgia and not be upset that, certain things happen. It's just the way things play out. But if you're only care about Nebraska, if you're zoomed in on them, which I mean, most fans are, I'm not going to blame you for that. It's hard to kind of, oh, wow. It's like all of these things build up and it just becomes a lot to handle for fans.
Yeah, but that's what also makes, I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about why is college football so much different than the NFL? And I think one of the big reasons that I thought that I haven't heard anybody mention is the fact that college football players get to choose where they go.
Mm-hmm.
They are the ones that choose. In the NFL, you can choose, but you get paid less probably. But initially, you don't get to choose.
Mm-mm.
So I'm thinking, at what point do we start seeing it's some sort of, I don't know, this is like a hypothetical I had, that you have this super league that I'm probably jumping way ahead. I haven't even shown any slides yet.
You're good.
This is how my brain works.
This is I mean, we're talking ball, dude.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, look, you turn on the stove and the hibachi grill and you just start throwing stuff in there and start making onion volcanoes and stuff, dude.
And it's not going to be bad. It's going to taste great.
No, you throw some sesame oil on at the end and you're fine. But I think at what point do we have a Power Four breakoff where you're then drafting players, some sort of a draft, right?
I'm not sure if it'll get to that point because I don't know, like from a legal perspective, how that works. But I think it could, like, the breakoff's going to happen at some point. I don't know if it's next year or in 10 years. It's going to happen.
The issue with that is that they're trying to make it like it's our fault. That's the problem I have with the media and everybody who's in charge. They're like, you guys wanted this. It's like, we wanted it done right, you bunch of idiots, man.
Right.
So, but I'm sitting here thinking, like, what's the crazy thing they're coming with next? And it's like, if you really want to disperse talent, and let's have a draft then. Let's go. Come play. But I think the kids having all the power and being able to choose is what separates it from everywhere else, because they can decide not to go places.
Right, and you can put packages together for a player who might be deciding between 3 teams, whereas in the NFL, like you said, you're just going to whatever team picks you.
Yeah.
So, and that's part of what makes the sport awesome. But
it's like, that's what but I've seen.
We digress.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's get into it. That was good. That's a great intro of 15 minutes, just going over everything. Ladies and gentlemen, go follow our guy here at 0and0Sports. College, capital F football fan. I love that. And it says Ground Zero for daily college football coverage analysis. If you're listening to the podcast, you can't see this. We've got a picture of his Twitter profile up here, and it just has his @, and I'm assuming it's the same all over every. Okay. And then a creative partner for Red Zone College Football. Great stuff there. And then I'm going to put like I said, the link is available in the show description. So there we go. Go follow our guy. And let's get into some of this, we're a hot take kind of, we do predictives and top 10s, but not if you've ever seen any of our top 10s, it's outrageous. We got a lot of flack for my top 12 college football playoff that I kept making every week. Which, it's very easy to make people mad if you want to. We try to be somewhat objective and somewhat, satirical is more of our tone.
And if you don't want to, it's also very easy to piss people off.
Yes, 100%. So we're talking about the college football playoff, right? They're going to the talks of going from 12 to 24 after 2 years of the 12-team playoff is seeping all throughout the nation. You've got Iowa State, Jamie Pollard, the AD, Jamie Pollard. We talked about this the other night. He's saying, tell the SEC and the Big Ten, go do your thing, take all your sports, stop threatening, go on and do it. We've got Brett Bielema saying he'd love to see as many teams included as humanly possible. It can't go to 64. He's not talking about that. Somebody floated 32, all this nonsense. So we've got all that floating around. And right now it seems like the SEC is holding everything back, but I don't really think it's the SEC. I think it's more ESPN because they have some sort of TV media deal rights where they can only hold 14. I've read there's all kinds of rumors flying out around there. But I mean, where do you stand on this whole 24 team Big Ten, ACC, SEC? Like everybody's yelling. A lot of people want the 24 team. Like, and I don't know why the ACC and the Big 12 would want to, but where do you stand on all this?
No, yeah. If we're talking from an AD perspective, I'm going to go down by coaches. I understand why I understand why coaches would want an expanded playoff. Obviously, there's more 100%. Revenue in making a playoff. It's easier for Illinois to make a 24-team playoff than it is for them to make a 12 or a 4. Yep. So I understand that. From an AD, I saw that quote from Iowa State's athletic director. That's mind-blowing that he would say that. Like, I get it. I get wanting to push back against the two superpowers, right? But that's suicide. That's terrible for Iowa State. Yes. That would be the worst thing to happen to an Ohio State. I get it's probably all bark, no bite, but it's just I don't understand the incentive behind a Big 12 athletic director wanting to break away from the two, inarguably the two highest profiteers in college sports in the Big 10 and the SEC. Like if we're talking media rights, the Big 12 and the ACC don't make what the Big 10 and the SEC do. If we're talking TV revenue, same deal. If we're talking ticket sales, same deal. There's nothing wrong with the idea behind it, wanting to be like, these guys are just they're monopolizing the sport. I hate that as well. Yeah. But if you're going to push back by saying, let's just break away, you're just doing what they already want. You're doing what they want. You're giving into it by being like, just because you can't fire me, I quit. That's what's happening here.
Yeah. They want to make it like it's our fault. Like, oh, look at what you guys did. That's what I'm saying. They're doing everything they can to where they can look back and be the victim and be like, wow, I can't believe the Big 12 and the ACC left us.
Right.
I find it hilarious. I love it because I'm like, yeah, dude, let's get a little, let's throw a little gasoline on this. Let's go. Like, they do. The Big 10 and the SEC run around and just threaten everybody like, oh, we'll take all of our stuff. It's like, well, then do it. Like, I'm going to watch all of it. I don't care. Like, the Big 12 AD is making a bet that fans will love football no matter what. Whether it's on ESPN, whether it's on the CW, whether I have to stream it, I will watch it. I don't care. Like, it's going to be on a Saturday or a Thursday, and I'm going to watch it. So, Are they going to make money? Like you said, I don't know. They won't make as much money.
No, they won't. That's the issue that I have. It's like, yes, all of what you're saying is true about how they're just kind of, the SEC and the Big Ten are just kind of bullying the ACC, the Big 12, all the G6. I understand the idea behind that, but you're not helping. I don't think you're helping. I understand wanting to get it ahead and over with, but for me, it's the Big 12 and the ACC benefit from the Big 10 and SEC. Okay. And it's kind of like a trickle down. And I hate to use that in a derogatory sense, like, because the Big 12 and the ACC are awesome. Like you said, me, myself, yourself, we're going to watch football because we love football.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is, more people care about the Big 10. More people care about the SEC. They're consistently the best performers in all of college football. People aren't going to watch, casual fans aren't going to watch the Big 12 and the ACC as much as they are going to watch the Big 10 and the SEC. Whether you believe that's because of intentional Disney overtaking ESPN and pushing the SEC to the moon, you can believe that if you want. To me, what's happening behind the scenes doesn't really impact my opinions on it. If you want to believe it's a conspiracy that ESPN's trying to push the SEC and the Big 10, then you can believe that. To me, it's just like, I'm going to work with what we can see before I try and think on a higher playing field in that regard.
It's one of those things where it's like, I've gone down the rabbit hole, my friend. Believe me. Like, I have gone down, like, okay, I went back and looked at the history of national championships when they did all this stuff, like from to the 50s, right? And I went back and I was like, when did the SEC get so damn good? And to me, you could say it's conspiracy. Like, I don't think it's an accident that whenever the ABC and ESPN got the rights to the BCS in '96 or whatever it was, and then ESPN made a TV deal with the SEC in '96. From that point on, you can see a significant increase in SEC participation in national championships. Now, am I an idiot that says, well, they're just pushed? No, the SEC consistently has the best talent, right? The best coaching, the best facility. Like, I'm not an idiot. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't think it's a coincidence that from that point they have benefited from that.
No, yeah, absolutely.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive of each other. I don't believe that.
No. And that's if you got the idea that I was suggesting that you were a conspiracy theorist.
No, I didn't apologize.
But
I don't think that at all.
To me it's the ESPN obviously is incentivized to keep, and we'll talk about this in a second as well, with how they are the only ones essentially fighting back against expansion. Because they are incentivized to keep it an exclusive club. And once it gets less exclusive, they obviously lose a lot of. There's no arguing that. But I don't think that is as important in the topic of playoff expansion as people would like to believe. I think you get those extremes where people believe, oh, the SEC isn't even that good. It's just ESPN wants you to believe that. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking conspiracy theory. The recruiting sites are all paid by the SEC to boost. You can believe, like I said, you can believe that if you like.
You can go
But
down the rabbit holes. But I just
yeah.
my big thing was like, I wanted to look because I'm like, at what point did we reach a point where the SEC was just winning everything? And I went back and I looked at, like I said, I looked at the national titles up until the mid to late 90s. And I was like, it was pretty evenly distributed, throughout. And then in the 90s, when that TV deal happened, like you can see there is a lot of SEC. And so that's just my opinion. What I do think is that the top of the SEC, just like the top of the Big Ten, is really, really good and another level, but all these people who are fans of the South Carolinas and the Missouris and you're the ones that think you can tag along and be like, no, you're not in that area. You're not in that area. There's 6 teams have won the SEC in the last 40 years, right? Did you see that stat?
16, yeah.
6. What is it? Florida, Georgia, Alabama,
LSU,
Auburn.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're missing a big one. Florida, Georgia, Alabama.
Are they
LSU,
including Texas
Auburn.
in that?
No, not Texas. And there was one more. But it's like the same 6 teams have been winning this conference for years.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So the top of the SEC and the top of the Big Ten. The Big Ten's even worse than the SEC as far as when you get down past the top.
Mm-hmm.
There's 8 teams, and we're going to show a slide here that you have created. That what a segue, man. By the way, this is the dumbest patch of all time on these jerseys. The college football playoff first round. Like, come on, you don't have to put that. You don't have to put that on there. I've been on that for years. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
There's just more of that where we're going. There's more of those patches.
Do you watch golf at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know who Keith Mitchell is? I think he's pretty much.
I do not.
Okay. And he's got the Kirby. I think he's a Georgia guy. I'm pretty sure he went to Georgia. So he's got the Kirby Smart Georgia.
Yeah.
Visor. Like he's got the visor.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The big fat visor that's 6 inches. I swear, I'm telling you, man, Keith Mitchell, every time I watch a golf tournament, he makes the visor top a little bit fatter.
10%. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to look like Doug Dimmadome or whatever that cartoon is with the 10-gallon hat. I'm like, he's just going to have a visor hat that's 10 feet tall out there swinging a golf. This can be incredible. We'll talk about that later. What I wanted to get to was the list of teams that you think are most likely to make the college football playoff. And you did this in a you've done it in a series of videos, have you not?
Yeah, I made one big video with, I believe, every Power 4 team, but this was more just an overall of every single FBS team.
Okay. So when you say locks, these are the teams we're talking about. I'll let you kind of go through this. This is a great graph. I love this. This is phenomenal. It's just laid out so beautifully. It's got what is this? The tier list, tier maker, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Love that. So go ahead and just kind of walk us through the skeleton and how the sausage was made a little bit here.
Yeah. I want to shout out Reed, Love for the Game podcast. One of the guys that I work with pretty consistently. He's the one who gave me the idea and I think made the tier list. So shout out him for doing that first and foremost. And then for the locks, we're talking teams that I think are in the playoff. If you bet money on any of these teams, I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense. 100%.
Okay.
So that's the very top. And I think the most controversial one was probably Texas Tech, just because of the whole Sorsby situation. But I mean, if you look at Texas Tech last year, they had quarterback injury issues.
Yep.
They struggled to run the ball at times last year. They had a top 50 offense, I think, as opposed to a top 3 defense.
Yeah.
Arguably a top 1 defense.
Yep.
That's how they got as far as they did in the Big 12, because there's not a ton of elite teams. There's not a ton of elite rosters in the Big 12. So I think there's just Texas Tech is the favorite. They have the most money. They have the best stars. I feel like it's easy to say, well, they don't have Brendan Sorsby. They didn't have Brendan Sorsby last year, and they very easily made.
Who else are you taking in the Big 12?
The only other one I think is probably BYU, and they don't match up in terms of talent or in the financial side of it.
No.
But I love BYU. I think BYU mirrors a lot of what Indiana was doing. To get to the level that Indiana did is another question. I don't think they're going to get there, but I do think they mirror a lot of the scheme, the pro spread. Bear Backmeyer is a very, nose to the grindstone type of quarterback. They played a great defense. Unfortunately, they lost their defense coordinator, but they played great defense last year. So I think they have an outside chance looking in, which is why I had them at hopeful. If they can win every game and then lose in the Big 12 championship game, then I think they should get in. But at this moment in time, the only Big 12 team that I see as a shoe-in is Texas Tech.
Okay. All right. So the fringe teams, one of the ones that I love on here. First of all, I hate North Dakota State as an App State guy. Secondly,
wait, why?
Well, when we were making our run, they were in the comments in the before social media was really big. This is back in the early 2000s.
Okay.
They were saying that our championship was not valid because we hadn't played them.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Because they weren't allowed to jump up and play, so
right.
Our dynasty wasn't as good as theirs. And it's like, you know what, dude? I wish we could play those teams right now, and you would understand. Anyways, so they were in the crowd chirping about how our national titles didn't matter because we didn't play them. So
it's ludicrous.
I hate their guts. Still to this day. I respect them, but I hate their guts. This fringe team. So Arizona I love, but I love Cal. The reason I love Cal is the quarterback, dude. That guy is a freaking laser light show.
Oh yeah. He's one of the biggest reasons that I have them there, but
yes.
I would say the biggest reason is because they had a pretty good offense last year. They had I can't remember exactly if it was top 3 or top 5 offense in the ACC. They added to that and adding Ian Strong and Chase Hendricks out of the transfer portal to borderline, I would say, great to elite wide receiver talents, which will only help them. And they bring in Tosh Lupoy from Oregon, who, if you're not familiar, if you're listening to this and you're not familiar with Tosh Lupoy, he hasn't been a head coach, but he was the defensive coordinator from Oregon for the best part of their the last 3 years. And he's an alum, so it made a ton of sense. He's got ties to Cal. He's a defensive guru. He's Oregon. Their defense has been immaculate the past couple seasons.
Yes, it has.
And I think immediately you get a guy like that in at Cal who's not short of talent. I don't think Cal is like a bottom feeder. They're not towards the top of the country, obviously, but they have talent as we've seen. Like last year, they went 7-6, and their defense wasn't very good. So if they can right that wrong by bringing in a guy like Tosh, who makes a ton of cultural sense, a ton of team sense with the defensive-minded aspect of it, I think they have as good of a chance as anybody in the ACC, who's also, like the Big 12, not a super deep conference.
I love. I'll never forget when I was watching that guy. Like one of the first games of the year last year. Like I'm, one of the sickos watching the 11 o'clock Cal ACC game.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting there watching what's his name, Sagapulololo or whatever his name is. I'm like, this guy. I was like, who is this quarterback? Like,
he's an animal.
He is a freak. So I hope he has a really good year. So your locks are Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas Tech, Indiana, Notre Dame. For those of you who can't see, hopefuls are Alabama, Oklahoma, Miami, BYU, Michigan, Texas, LSU, Boise State, and then some of the other fringe ones that are fun are New Mexico. I love that coach; he's phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
UNLV with what's his face, Mullen? Is it Mullen?
Dan Mullen. Yep.
Yeah. So didn't they get they got a nice transfer quarterback, didn't they?
They got Jackson Arnold from Auburn, who
who can't throw. Oh my gosh, never mind.
No,
I knew they got a transfer.
Here's the thing. As a Nebraska fan, we brought in Anthony Calandria from UNLV last year. Had a great season, won Mountain West Player of the Year. I see the same thing for Jackson Arnold. Before Calandria got to UNLV, he was at Virginia a couple years, and he had as many touchdowns as interceptions. Turnover machine, wasn't reliable. He gets put in that system, the Dan Mullen system, and Mountain West Player of the Year. So I think you could see a very, very similar outlook for Jackson Arnold, who mirrors a lot of what Anthony Calandria did well last year. So I'm actually very high on Jackson Arnold, whereas most people definitely aren't because they've seen how bad he's been the past couple of years.
Well, yeah, he's playing in the SEC. I mean, he's playing in the Auburn and stuff. So
I get it. I don't fault people for saying, "Oh, it's Jackson Arnold," but if you look at fit if you look at scheme, if you look at what they do well, I think it perfectly matches Jackson Arnold's game.
Now, you have LSU up there in the hopefuls?
Mm-hmm.
Lane Kiffin?
I think
Levitt is the key there.
Yeah, I think in order for LSU to make the playoff, which I think is very likely, they'll have to be the Charlie Weiss is the key there. I think defensively they'll be fine. I think if Charlie Weiss can do what he did last year at Ole Miss with Sam Levitt, who's I'm not super high on his arm, but just his explosiveness, his ability to make plays with his legs. And he's not a terrible passer. He's not a Jeff Sims, from Arizona State. I think they can absolutely make the playoff, but it's a matter of in year one putting it all together immediately. That's the biggest question. I haven't seen Lane Kiffin necessarily just be able to build an elite roster. I know he was at Ole Miss where it's hard to do that, obviously, but it's taken him a few years in the stops that he's been at. So I could see it going either way. I think they should aspire to make the playoff this year. I think they will probably end up making the playoff, but obviously that's why I don't have them as a lock.
Okay. Some of the no chances. Mississippi State. No. I don't know why, but I bet their win total over last year, and that was one of the funnest bets I've ever made.
Did it hit?
I'm pretty sure it did. I think it was at 4.5.
I think, that makes sense. I believe they won 5.
I think they won 5 or 6 games, and it was awesome. It was incredible. I love finding a team. Just because I was looking at Mississippi State, and I was looking at their coach, I was like, this guy's he's got a pretty good pedigree, and I think he was an offensive lineman too. So, also, App State down there in the no chance, I'm going to respectfully disagree. With all due respect. Yeah. With all due respect, I will respectfully disagree.
I will let you have that. I'll let you have App State there.
Even though I'm not pleased with how the direction of the program is going, it's annoying as hell. I love your ECU in the long shots. I love Jack State in the long shots. These are fun. I love Hawaii. I love their quarterback a lot. Alejado or whatever his name is. He's fun.
A lot of those group of 5 teams I put in long shot just because I think they have a puncher's chance of making and winning their conference. It's harder to predict the G5 than any other, it's harder to predict just because there's so much more volatility in those conferences. So just the teams that I'm a little bit higher on that I don't think I necessarily have like a Marshall or a Jack State winning their conference, but they could. And if all goes well, they could be 11-1 and be, in the hunt. So that's why a lot of those are there. Some of the higher teams like the Boise State, I put it hopeful because they're easily the most talented team. They've made the playoff. So I think they are one of the only G5 teams that should consistently aspire to be in the playoff. I think they're the favorite this year, but
that's what pisses me off about App State, dude. Like we had that. We were next up. Like we were winning the Sun Belt, running the Sun Belt, and I don't know what happened. It's infuriating because we should have been the next Boise State. That could have been us. And we squandered it away.
It could still be with how it's going. It could still be. I'm not sure if there's any team other than a Boise State, maybe UNLV, who's capable of putting together a roster that good year after year.
JMU seems to be pretty good at doing it.
Yes. Yeah. But the biggest, I mean, it's definitely possible for JMU. I think the Billy Napier is a question. I like him as a G6, G5 head coach, but when he was at Louisiana, he wasn't playing in the East. So it's going to be a matter of if he's able to be as good, have seasons as good as he had at Louisiana now in a tougher division. Yeah.
Billy Napier. I remember that's who App State battled forever in the Sun Belt.
Sun Belt Billy.
Yep. I thought he was going to do better at Florida. But
he was definitely a good recruiter.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about Billy Napier. He was a great recruiter at Florida.
I love you have North Carolina in the no chance.
I just don't see it. A lot of people are high on them because of I forget the name escapes me. Their offensive coordinator, Petrino. Petrino as their offensive coordinator. I could see that being a great addition and them having a fun offense. I don't like North Carolina. I don't think Bill Belichick was a good move. I think it was a necessary risk. Yeah. I think the experiment's going to fail, and that's the end.
They really don't know how to hire. don't know
I
how to
could
hire
be
coaches.
very wrong. I could be very wrong, and they end up being a 9-3 team. Who knows? Who knows? But
They
I
just don't. When's the last good coach they hired? Didn't they have the Larry Fedora? They had
I
Mac
mean, Mac
Brown.
Brown was solid. He wasn't,
Yeah.
what he was at Texas, but I feel like that's about as good as it gets for them.
Yeah. Anything else on it? Because this is great. This is a great list. But I have some other stuff I want to that you've kind of touched on a little bit. What do you think about the Sorsby stuff, by the way?
He's a guy. He's awesome.
Yeah. I like this. He bets on anything. Like, I love this. He was betting on hot dog contest, doubles 10. Like, he's sitting around with his boys. Like, hey, let's put some money on this.
Oh yeah, dude. He's me.
Yeah,
He's me, dude. Nathan's hot dog. I had irresponsible money on the Nathan's hot dog contest. So no, but in all reality, betting on your own team is where it draws the line. Like we saw Mateer last year betting on some random games. That was bad enough. But once you bet on your own team, once you start betting on your own team, that's when it's like, okay, dude, you're maybe see a psychiatrist about this one.
Yeah,
that's insane.
I don't know what they're going to do. And then there was a judge that was supposedly a Texas Tech grad and so on and so forth.
He recused himself this week.
There's some great memes about that.
Oh, yeah.
There's some great memes about
Hopefully, I don't think he should be eligible. I think if there's any integrity in the sport, betting on your own team is where the line should be drawn. If it was just the Nathan's hot dog and Romanian soccer, go for it, buddy.
Yeah.
Guys will be guys. But once you get to betting on your own sport, betting on your own team, you shouldn't be eligible. If he is able to play next year, I think that's honestly a loss for college football and college football fans.
Well, they don't. I mean, they're going to do whatever they want. They're going to look and say, does this guy bring ratings? That's what they're going to assess. They're going to do a ratings assessment and be like, this guy, whenever he plays, is going to be the most controversial, and we're going to have, because that's all the TV networks care about. They're probably in the ear being like, hey. But I'm with you. Like, hey, man, don't do that.
No.
Okay, this is your post-spring top 25. A lot of people didn't have Indiana in the top 5. Oregon is always going to be up there, but we know what they're going to do. They're going to win a bunch of games and lose in the playoff in the first or second round. That's what they do. Iowa, I love being in there. I respect that you don't have Missouri in there. Thank you very much. Is Missouri in there? Did I miss him? No.
They're just outside.
Just missed the cut. Thank God. Holy smokes. Thank you for giving us a top 25. It doesn't have Missouri. And who's the other one that always gets in there? Auburn. Usually sneaks in there, But, okay, so you've got I'm not going to go over all these, but for those of you who can't see, there's a top 25 list here. The top 5, I will read: Indiana, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Oregon, and Georgia. How did you come up with this? Let's break it down a little bit.
Indiana. I'll start with Indiana because that was the most controversial one when I put it out. How can you say no?
Exactly.
Is my thing. Everybody, okay. The biggest pushback that I've had on Indiana at one is, well, they lost Fernando Mendoza. I'm like, you didn't know. The commenter saying that didn't know who Fernando Mendoza was prior to coming to Indiana.
Right.
And that's no disrespect to Fernando Mendoza. He was awesome.
From Cal.
He was awesome at Cal.
Yeah.
But Indiana turned Fernando Mendoza into Fernando Mendoza.
Yes.
So to say, oh, they lost Fernando Mendoza, they lost this and that. Kurt Cignetti, Mike Shanahan, Bryant Haynes, their recruiting department has done the best job at identifying talent in the history of college football. Yes. I don't understand how we can watch the Indiana Hoosiers win a national championship.
Not
in
win.
Football.
Destroy everybody.
In football.
Yes.
And be like, well, can they do it again? They shouldn't have been able to do it one time. That's my thing. They shouldn't have been able to do it once. They shouldn't have been able to go to the playoff last year, and they did. So for people to be like, well, they lose a bunch of guys. Okay. They bring in Josh Hoover. They bring in an amazing transfer portal class. I think it's the number 1 transfer portal class overall.
They have money there. Money.
Yeah. So now I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't have them won. That's just my spiel on that as an airplane goes by. I don't know if you can hear that.
No.
Okay. Ohio State, pretty self-explanatory. I think losing Brian Hartline is a big question mark. They replaced him with Arthur Smith, who's more of a run-centric rather than what they've had with Brian Hartline. Notre Dame, I just really like their roster a lot. I know they lose their top 2 running backs, but it still should be a good room. Denbrock should, have field an elite offense once again.
Favorable as well.
That as well, and they now have an auto bid if they make the top 12, which is ridiculous. But
stupid.
Oregon, I really like the roster. The biggest thing for Oregon, I would have them higher. I've had this argument with some of my friends from Red Zone on why I don't have Oregon higher. They lose both of their coordinators, Lupoy and Will Stein head off to different schools. And it's hard to replace that. I have no doubt in my mind that they'll be able to replace them with good coordinators. I don't think they've made any bad hires, but it's just getting those, because you're talking about 2 of the most elite coordinators in the sport in Will Stein and
their defense was nasty.
So to me, it's just there's too much unknown in that department. From a roster perspective, you're talking about maybe top 2 in the country. So I understand.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of the system built around that roster that is a question mark for me. Georgia's tricky. I really like Georgia. I think they could win it any given year. It's just, are they built to do it? Are they built to withstand that playoff grind we've seen the past couple years? No, they haven't.
Can they get a defense again? What's that all about?
It's tough. Every year it feels like they should be a lot better defensively than they are, and they kind of slip. They're not bad, but it's like, how are they this far behind where they were like 3 years ago? It's hard. Glenn Schumann, I like Glenn Schumann. I like Mike Bobo, but there's just so much volatility for some reason there right now. And I'm not sure if it's off the field stuff. I won't get into that, but I'm not completely. Georgia is a big area of, I just cannot put my finger on them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have no finger on the pulse of that program right now. They're going to be good. They will probably end up winning the SEC again.
Yeah.
Will they win the national championship? They could. They absolutely could, just like a lot of these teams I think could. But
I usually do a top 25 as we get closer to it. And
this will change. This has already changed. So this is
okay. Well, there you go.
I'm not sure exactly who, but yeah, I've definitely already made some adjustments. It will be different before the season.
Okay. Florida's in there.
I love Florida. I love John Summerall. John Summerall might be my favorite head coach in the sport. I think he's probably the most underrated. I think Tulane's no bum program, They're one of the more what is the word? Resource heavy group of 5 teams. But they have great resources at Tulane is basically what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
But he started at Troy, and Troy's not known for their great resources. He takes over and does an immaculate job there. Immediately jumps to Tulane, has no issue rebuilding and getting them back and winning the American.
Yep.
I think Florida has needed a guy who is balanced. They brought in Billy Napier, I think, because they liked a lot of his offenses and a lot of his the ability he's shown as a recruiter. But at the end of the day, it comes down to winning games. And I think John Summerall is that guy for Florida. I think in year one, they already have an elite roster. They have a pretty decent transfer haul. They bring in Buster Faulkner from Georgia Tech, who had one of the highest floor offenses in college football last year. That Georgia Tech offense was, it wasn't
that was
bad
fun to watch.
Any day. Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun to watch.
I think they can win potentially 8 or 9 games next year. And if given 1 or 2 upsets, could be in the playoff hunt.
Love that. All right. So go check out the top 25. Like you said, it's already changed. What about the G6? You kind of touched on some of these. I love that you did a G6. Thank you, because I'm a G6 guy. We like to look at all of college football here. You got UNLV, Boise State, Memphis, USF, JMU is your top 5. ECU's in there. North Dakota State, I hate their guts. Coastal's back in there. Jack State. You got Army. Where's Navy? Is Navy in there?
Navy's not. I'm a little bit lower on Navy.
See
I think Navy's harder to predict, as is Army and Air Force, just because you don't really know what they have unless they like they had I forget his name. The quarterback
for Navy?
Yeah. I forget his name. Not important. It is important. I should know it, but I forget. And he was awesome, and he was a lot of the reason why that offense was so effective. I don't think they necessarily.
Horvath.
Yes, Blake Horvath.
Okay, there we go.
They their offense should be good. I mean, it's the Navy offense. It's not going to change that much. It's just a matter of being able to execute as well as they have the past couple years with Horvath. I think that's why I have Army in there, is because they do return Cale Helms. They return a couple of those good running backs they had last year. I just think if you wanted to say Navy was top 5, sure, I'm not going to argue with you. It's Navy. I can't. I'm not going to pretend that I know who half of their players are, because they're not recruits. They're students. Yeah. They're at Navy. They're at Army. So it is what it is. I just losing Blake Horvath is just a big letdown in my opinion.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put Utah State in there. Might be biased. My cousin coaches their best offensive line coach in the country.
Okay.
Do what?
No, I said that's okay.
Yep. So Utah State's going in there. Get Texas State out of there. I'm tired of seeing them in everybody's top 10 and moving up to conferences, and they've done nothing. And I was asking, I was like, "What's the deal?" And I was talking to somebody. He's like, "They have a great market. They have tons of resources. They have a great campus." He's like, "People like Texas State. They want the Texas markets. That's why they're so desirable." I was like, that makes a lot of sense, because they do not win football games.
Yeah, it's for me. It's just GJ Kinney hasn't been able to put it all together yet. I think that's bound to happen at some point. Whether it happens this year, it could be. I really like Brad Jackson. I like their offense. I think they'll have a good offense once again. But like you said, it's just a matter of actually winning games and not just being a fun team. That obviously is a huge factor. I think they will be able to probably win 8 or 9. It's just so hard to predict.
He never does it. Like, it's like you look and you're like, they have the biggest offensive line in the country, and you're like, they have all these recruits, and he looks cool, and he's like got this swagger, and I'm like, they lose games.
Right. And it's defense. So, they have a top, 50 offense in the country. Very exciting, very fun to watch, but then they give up 78 points a game. So it's like, it's not winning football.
No. And Josh, Josh Pate gave his thoughts. It was they can't, G6 teams can't. I think this is where you and I first crossed paths interacting, whenever I said the rankings that they were using were biased toward favoring G6 or P4 teams. And he went on this little monologue about, hey, they just don't play the same caliber of schedule. And it's like, where do you stand on the G6?
I think there is there's a clear line. I think there are some G6 teams that have ascended and have been able to compete. I think if a Tulane moved up, if a Boise State moved up, they would be able to sustain, just because of the resources as well. They already have good resources. It's just a matter of resources, in my opinion. I wouldn't say there's no chance that Middle Tennessee State couldn't upset Alabama. That could happen any given week, but it's a matter of competing consistently. I think the big idea around G6 inclusion in the playoff is interesting. I think they should. I think a lot of G6 teams deserve, like a James Madison, to make it into an expanded playoff. I just don't believe that there's ever going to be a G6 main. Like, if Boise State moved up to the Pac-12 or the SEC or Big Ten or whatever, because they are in the Pac-12, and they got those resources that comes with jumping up conferences, they would be able to compete because they already have a sustained level of success. But it's a matter of no G6 team has the resources I think necessary. They don't have the depth. They don't have they might have the coaching. Their coaches aren't bad necessarily. It's just harder to work with less talent. It's just, to me, it comes down to talent and resources. And I don't think any G6 team, Boise State included, who's the most resource rich currently in the group of 6, is capable of, going on a playoff run. Could they upset a team? Yes. It's different from being able to win a game and being able to win 4 or 5 in a row.
But I think that goes back to the whole point of, that's the same across college football. Like, that's usually the argument, is that there's a class of teams in each conference, and then there's the rest of the conference. There's a class of teams in group of 6, then there's the rest of the group of 6. Like, we all know what these teams like, and I think what the loud part, or the part out loud, is that we know that this is the case, but in our heart of hearts, for me, I'm like, I know that if you allow things to continue to play out, other teams might be able to. I don't want to cut off access to teams maybe finding that success that catapults them into being a Boise State. You know what I mean? Like that's the issue I have with like just shutting out Group of 5 or whatever, too, Group of 6, whatever, is that we just don't know that like somebody can't have a really good year and it may change the trajectory. Like we saw Indiana just make an absolute turnaround out of nowhere. But again, they have all the resources. So, and they're not a Group of 6, but I'm saying like, I know it's really hard for 95% of the Group of 5 teams, but I think that if things play out or they were the way they were, not in today's football, like it's just not going to happen with NIL and transfer portal. It's just that I think my argument died whenever NIL started in transfer portal, that things were trending in the right direction where the gap was closing. And now I think it's just, it's I'm hanging on to an idea that like, they've screwed up so much that it's hard for me to even go to it. And that's for somebody like me who's been pounding on the table for years. Let them play. Let them play. They're like, yeah, well, watch this. We're going to start paying the players. And it's like, well, now I got nothing. Like, like they ruined it, you know?
Yeah. It especially sucks because there were teams like Cincinnati who were some of the best teams in the country, made the playoff.
TCU.
But now it's harder for those teams to, I mean, it's easier for them to get in. If a Cincinnati happened again, it would be easier for them to get into the playoff. But you're talking about winning 4 or 5 games in a row, which is just not feasible for these teams. And I think an expansion in the short term would serve better to include those teams. But I think like it has essentially with the playing field evening out more towards the top of the Power 4, I feel like it would have a similar effect because you would have teams like Boise State, teams like App State, who have teams like North Dakota State, who have good players. They're going to want to go to Missouri, and maybe be a rotational piece and perhaps get to participate in a college football playoff in the 2014 format. So I think it creates parity in the Group of 6 also, but not in the way that you would want. I think it would decrease the talent level across the Group of 6 and slightly increase the middle Power 4 a little bit. I think it creates an inverse parity, if you will. I think it would serve to separate more. So I get wanting to include all group 10 conference champions in a playoff in a 2014 format. I understand wanting to see more Big 12, more ACC, more American, just Group of 6 teams in general. But I think it serves as a reverse to what the actual issue is. I think the actual issue is that the parity that's being created at the top of the sport doesn't allow for teams like, and with NIL and the transfer portal allows for teams in the Group of 6 to be poached because they just can't compete financially. And that's where the root of the issue is, because you have teams like Texas Tech, Alabama, LSU, who can spend $500 million on a roster, it seems, in a season.
LSU's paying 3 coaches.
Yeah. and they can just do whatever they want. They can go down to App State. They can go to Boone, North Carolina, and be like, hey, guys, what are you getting paid now? $15,000? All right. Make $250,000 to sit the bench for a season. And it's like, you can't compete with that. These are the actual issues that need to be addressed. I don't think expanding the playoff solves those issues. I think a lot of people think it will, by being like, well, if they're included in the playoff, they might be able to make more money and might be able to get more awareness on group. To me, that just doesn't. Their
solution is, hey, just give people more football. Everybody wants more football, and I'm like, that's not true. Like, I want to watch good football. Like, I love football, but just throwing more football just because they're doing that because they know the ratings are going to be good. Because I'm going to watch it. Like, they know that I'm going to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
They also know that they're forcing our hand and forcing us. Like, they think they're so smooth. They're like, oh, we're going to expand the playoff. And I'm like, no, I know what you're doing. Like, but there's nothing I can do about it other than get in front of this microphone and yell about it.
Right.
Like, I was the biggest, let the G5 in the playoff. Well, they let them in, and then they started paying players. I'm like, well, and then they're like, see, the G5 can't compete. I'm like, well, no shit, dude. Like,
No, yeah.
As soon as they got in, you said, okay, we can pay players now. Like, that's not an accident, in my opinion. It's just not. And like,
No.
so, and they want the expanded playoffs because now they could sell more advertising space. Like,
Yeah, and now that you have an illegitimate argument, but in the confines of the playoff expansion argument, you have more teams now who are capable of competing to get into the playoffs.
Yes.
I don't think that matters at all. I don't think getting into the playoffs should matter at all. I think teams that get into the playoffs should be able to compete for a national championship because that's the whole point. But it's more, we're entering a world where the playoff itself is the prize rather than winning a national championship. Because everybody knows, like, Missouri's not going to win the national championship next year. Could they compete for the playoff and potentially get crazy ad revenue? Yeah, that's what they're aiming for. And that's what bowl games served not as much to. So you couldn't make as much money going to the Citrus Bowl as you would going to the college football playoff first round and playing a home game versus
with that stupid patch on the shirt
and Ohio State and losing by 20 touchdowns.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's infuriating. It
definitely is frustrating. But to get back to the original point with Josh Pate.
Oh yeah.
To me, it comes off as harsh, but I think it's unfortunately true. I'm not happy about the way it is. I think the ranking system does serve more to include SEC. Is that fair year to year? Sometimes no. So I will say some years there might be a case where Tennessee might lose on a neutral site to a Tulane. And because they have more talent, Tennessee gets included in that ranking system. I would say, though, that it's safer to assume just because of the talent level, just because of the resources, just because of the coaching level, that clear separation should be made. And it's unfortunate, but it's just a matter of how are we able to view this as voters on a committee. I don't think we should have a committee. I think that's another radical take. We should go back to BCS computer rankings.
Stupid.
But because you had computer isn't going to factor in well, but they aren't going to do that. So I mean, it's a lost cause. I just think viewing it in a way that where the group of six unfortunately is not going to be capable, at least as capable to win a national championship as a Missouri. I don't think either really are. I think Tulane and Missouri have similar odds. I just think Missouri's odds are slightly higher just by the nature of the beast being an SEC team.
They're going to if you put them side by side, you can make more of a case for Missouri just because they're in the SEC. And I think that's dumb. The bias is annoying to me. Like, again, they're not fooling me. I understand what they're doing. But it's infuriating. And this whole argument that's like, it's grueling, it's a more grueling test that so-and-so. And it's like, well, I mean, somewhat, yes. But then Alabama goes out there and gets beat by 40 to Indiana. Like, so is it really that grueling?
It's tough. I feel like there are points. I feel like the SEC is probably the deepest conference in football. So I get the argument.
Talent-wise, coach-wise, resources, yes.
And it's hard, like I said, to judge just based on, we're guessing. And SEC does get a lot of favorable bias towards them. And when it comes down to like the end of the season, when it comes down to playoff and it comes down to AP poll, whatever. And that is something that I dislike. But I also feel like it's closer to the objective truth than saying in all cases that we should favor a Tulane over a Tennessee or a Missouri. So that's where the gray area comes in for me.
Yeah.
I would bet 9 times out of 10 that Tennessee would beat Tulane, and that's why I think they should be ahead. And another hypothetical win for the SEC. I know I've seen all the memes. I've been called SEC bias as somebody who lives in South Carolina and is a Nebraska fan. So I get it. I get not liking that, but to me, it is closer to the objective truth that the SEC is probably the best conference, not the best top. The top of the Big Ten, in my opinion, is better than the top of the SEC, at least currently. But SEC, in my opinion, from team 1 to team 18 is better than any other conference. So that's where the argument kind of ends for me. It's like, am I going to give Tennessee the benefit of the doubt over a Tulane? 9 times out of 10, yeah.
I guess it would I guess
Yeah.
it would just depend on the year.
Yeah,
right?
and that's the tough situation. If there was a year, where Tulane was like 12-0 and they had some crazy quarterback who's in Heisman talks or whatever, I would honestly be like, you know what? And I have like last year I put I can't remember. It was
They should have
probably
done 2, but
UConn over Missouri in my top 25 to end the year
freaking
just
love
because.
UConn, dude. They
Oh
were
yeah, they're
grinding.
awesome. Do I believe UConn would beat Missouri? I think it could be a game, but probably not. So
Was
I
it Jim
do.
Moore up there?
Yeah.
Jim
Yep.
Moore. That's right.
But it's just so hard for me to consistently give an opinion that I don't believe, and that's that I
Well, I
think
think that's
a
one of
group
the
of
biggest
6 team is
issues.
going to beat a SEC team or should be ranked above an SEC
Yeah.
team that's maybe lost a few more games than a UConn or a Tulane or whatever. But it's just, yeah.
The biggest issue is people can't let go of the past, and they can't live right now. Like, college football is not what it used to be. Using all those stats about the SEC's won all this, that's over. Like, we understand that year to year they produce the most talent. They have some of the best coaches. They have the best facilities. Like, we know that. But again, you have to use what's being played in front of you.
Right.
Like, that's my biggest issue I have whenever they go to ranking. They're like, well, the SEC traditionally, I'm like, that doesn't matter. College football is not the same as it used to be. You can't do that. If you can look at all the metrics this year and tell me that, yes, I agree. But,
Yeah.
but I think that's one of the things too. We want to keep the tradition, but not keep up with the times about how college football is developing. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
This is a really cool graphic, by the way, that you showed in one of your videos talking about what is current roster expected versus the actual career score, which is kind of cool. So I know you were talking about this, and like you were saying, it's your top. By the way, shout out Florida State. Holy shit!
Yeah, Florida State's
what are
an
they doing in
anomaly.
there?
Yeah.
So, and then Oklahoma State. How about that?
Yeah, I think that this one is probably a couple years old at this point, so it's not the most up to date. But this graphic in the video that I was making goes to show the teams that are the most talented versus how they've, performed. And so usually the teams at the top right, the Ohio States, as you can see, they won the national championship 2 years ago. That was from that year where they're the most talented and best coached team from a data perspective. So they win the national championship. But the argument I was giving in the video was about who is capable of winning a national championship. A lot of people in the subsequent weeks, months, took that as teams that I think should be in the playoff. It's not about like teams that I think are capable of making a playoff. I think obviously we saw Miami at 10 go on to make the national title game. I think there are teams like Miami who are capable, as you can see from this graph, but they're teams that underperform in the regular season. So a team like Ohio State or Oregon, who's, constantly performing well in the Big Ten, consistently making the postseason, consistently having the best talent composite on their roster. Those are teams that are capable of winning a national championship. I know we joke Oregon always comes up short.
Yep.
That is the fact of the matter. But then there's teams like Alabama who you see at the end of the opposite end of the list where they have crazy talent but performed not to their expectation. And it's teams like that who I think if Alabama was let in at 9-3, they would be able to win a national championship. It's a matter of getting hot, as we saw with the Miami, and going on a run. And I think teams with that level of talent, with that level of depth, with that level of coaching are capable of doing that. But in the argument that I'm presenting in this video, it's that they shouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
We had some of your top 10 like some of the graphics you made. I just wanted to show the people, like you have a top 10 transfer quarterbacks in 2026. You do that with Garage Game Day. The Darian Mensah, that's a big deal because he was pretty good at Duke. You have that. I don't know if you want to touch on that. You also have the top 10 breakout candidates that you've put together. So that's another awesome graphic. You've got top 10 D linemen, top 10 O linemen, top 10 mascots. Like you put together a whole. I love top 10s. Like I love.
What's funny is that one got the most traction out of all of them. The one that's like so subjective and doesn't matter at all. That's the one that gets like 500,000 impressions. And I'm like, guys, I don't care about that. I don't care who the actual ones are. I thought this was just fun.
When you do stuff like this, like it's, like to me, I love this. I'm like, oh, I'm getting to know the players, but I guess to the casual, like they're going to read that and not have anything to say about it,
Right.
You get this one and it's like.
It's like, how can you have the tree on there? It's like, because I think the tree's funny. I think the Stanford tree's hilarious. That's why he's 4. Not that he's like cooler. There were people talking about the BYU, and I get there's, I didn't even know there was like a mascot national championship. Apparently that's a thing. And apparently the BYU mascot won the past like 10. So
wow,
like, how can he be, why isn't he on there?
What are you doing? What's wrong with your rankings? You need a committee.
Not a ball knower. Yeah, literally.
Form a committee and then make it a playoff.
I wasn't watching the mascot games this year.
Are they paying mascots? That's what I want to know. Is there a transfer portal? Can somebody transfer?
I don't know how they would pay Uga or Bevo. Maybe in better food. I don't know.
The duck.
He already gets like a heated.
Let me see. Are we missing anything? I mean, yes, the BYU Cougar, the Buffalo, yeah, the Boomer Schooner, Oski the Bear. I feel like we're missing one. Obviously,
probably. Probably.
Come on,
probably
dude.
A few that are missing.
You know what? Make it top 25. Do your preseason.
Yeah, I might
you know what you should do next? Preseason rankings. You should do preseason rankings. Yes.
I might have to do that.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Anything else, my friend? I mean, you got is there any one of these graphics you'd like to touch on?
The breakout ones I found interesting because a lot of people, it's harder to, judge players that haven't quite gotten there yet,
Yeah.
So it's harder for people to be like, well, no. Cutter Boley, I love the situation he got put in. I thought to end the season at Kentucky, he did a great job. He wasn't, elite by any stretch of the imagination. But you look at the comparison to Sam Leavitt, who was a backup at Michigan State his freshman year, redshirted, goes to Arizona State and becomes, one of the most sought after transfer quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah.
I think Kenny Dillingham's offense is built to harbor that talent. You saw him go into last season with Sam Leavitt. He was injured half the year. He had Jeff Sims, which for any other team in the country, I would go to guess would mean you're not winning more than 6 games. And they won 8. So I think that is indicative of system and of, ability to disguise weaknesses.
Yeah.
And not necessarily put it all on a quarterback's shoulders, giving him, talent to work with and scheme to work around his flaws. I think Cutter Boley has plenty of flaws, but I think at Arizona State, he becomes probably one of the better quarterbacks in that conference. And I mean, just going down, Alberto Mendoza, I think self-explanatory, had one of the better minds as a brother in football, had one of the better minds as a coach, as multiple coaches on that team. I think at Georgia Tech now is going to be put in a system similar to Indiana. There's not as much of a learning curve there. And I think he'll be able to perform well. If he's, Fernando, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I think he definitely is capable of taking the leap next year. Jaden Craig, the Harvard transfer TCU, I just like him overall as an athlete. I like him as a talent. It's hard with the system at TCU. It's not necessarily like elite by any stretch. Shout out their quarterbacks coach, who I worked for in college.
Oh, really?
We worked underneath in like the film department. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jackson Arnold we touched on earlier. Kenny Minchie, backup at Notre Dame. He could be really good. He reminds me a lot of Jalen Hurts, the current version of Jalen Hurts rather than the college, because he's definitely a pass first. Yeah. Maybe more so on the field than Jalen Hurts. Dude. Philo, he might not even be the starter, so that one was more of a shot in the dark, just because I like the system at Florida that whichever quarterback ends up starting there. Michael Hawkins Jr. We saw flashes of Michael Hawkins at Oklahoma. I think West Virginia building that system around him with the running game that they're inevitably going to have is going to be good. Lincoln Kienholz, former Ohio State backup for the past 3 years. I think he finally gets a shot. I think Jeff Brom, one of the more underrated coaches.
Shout out Tyler Shuck.
Yeah. He's going to be able to get a high floor output from a quarterback. I think he's going to be pretty solid. Same thing for Grunkemeyer at Virginia Tech.
Old Dominion, right?
Grunkemeyer was at Penn State. He was a backup behind what's his face,
Who's
Drew
the guy
Aller.
from Old Dominion that transferred?
At Penn State.
I don't know. There was somebody from Old Dominion, the quarterback.
Oh, Colton Joseph.
Yeah.
He went to Wisconsin. Great name, by the way.
There you go. Yeah, by the way. Yeah, there you go.
And then Ricky Collins, he was a highly sought after prospect out of high school. And now he's going to get put in an offensive system. A lot of these just have to do with the system that they're going into. I really like Kennesaw State's last year. It wasn't super dependent on quarterback play. It was just, not making mistakes was the biggest thing. You don't get put in a situation really to make a ton of mistakes. They're very versatile with the quarterback run and pass. So
that was a fun run by them too.
Oh yeah.
Kennesaw State.
Oh yeah. But that's that list. If you wanted to add another guy, if you wanted to take away a guy, I wouldn't argue just because, some of these, I think Cutter Bowley is going to be good, obviously. But if you wanted to add somebody, sure. It's hard to predict players that have yet to become good become good. So it's with the territory, it's subjective.
I love that. Like, again, all these lists, this is what you're going to get, folks. Got these nice lists, very visibly pleasing. Talks about the big men too, talks about mascots. We're going to solve college football because I want to do a top 5 reasons how we solve college football. We're each going to go around and pick. Let me set this up here. Hold on.
This is what I was made for.
Let's go. Let's solve.
What I was born to do. Solve college football. Solve all the issues.
Okay, here we go. This is a very primitive. We'll make a better graphic to send out later, but okay, this is not in any specific order, by the way. This is just 5 things that we would use, but I'll let people be like, how could you put so-and-so at 1?
Yeah.
Whatever. What's one thing initially that you would go out, and I will type it right in here?
I think one of the most underrated, and that gets we talk about it, but it's definitely on the back burner with playoff expansion, with NIL, with transfer portal. I think it's just fixing the schedule. I think once we do that, then a lot of better opportunities for playoff expansion, if we want to go down that route, a lot of better opportunities for transfer portal open up, because right now it's just absolutely it's unimaginably like
when you say fix the schedule, you mean what's one thing you mean?
Having the high school portal open, or not the high school portal, the high school.
Oh, you mean the totality of the schedule, not like the actual. Okay, I see.
Like the playoff going into transfer portal season, players being stuck on rosters or having to transfer off of playoff rosters.
Yep.
The timing of the playoff, all of that, all of the high school signing day, bowl season, when coaches get fired at the end of the season, that all of that overlapping at the same 2 months is just it's not sustainable. And I think if we focus on that, which we're not going to, it would make too much sense to fix the easiest thing probably to fix on the list. It'd make way too much sense for them to do that.
Blows my mind, dude. That they have transfers going on in the middle of the playoff. Like, what are you doing?
Right. It's coaching, like we saw Malik Murphy before Texas's playoff run 2 seasons ago transfer. He's their backup quarterback. What happens if Quinn Ewers goes down? They had Arch Manning, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But it doesn't. It's not sustainable for coaching staffs. It's not sustainable for ADs. It's not sustainable for the playoff. Yeah. Obviously, if we have a situation where an Ole Miss next year makes the playoff and Trinidad Chambliss is like, well, I can't risk, my NFL aspirations. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to go with blow up the conferences. I think at this point, like everybody's like, oh, the SEC. It's like, no. There's a top of the SEC. There's a top of the Big Ten. Blow them up, redistribute them, and let's go from there. Let's stop pretending like the bottom half of these conferences are competing or doing anything. We all know, let's say it out loud, blow up the conferences, realign the conferences. Like, let's just go ahead and do it. Like, just get Minnesota out, get them out of there, get Purdue out of the Big Ten, and put some other teams that have some better, or just combine them. Like, just make a super, like, let's not pretend anymore. Okay. Like, I say blow them up. Let's just get, like, let's just stop all this argument. Like, we're arguing this Big Ten, SEC. Just look, we can change the other stuff on a whim. Just blow them up and put them together, or put half of them over here and half of them over there. And then the regular season will matter. Like, the regular season is not going to matter when you have bottom feeding teams. Like, that are, like everybody's like, well, what about the beauty of college football? Like that's gone. Like that's out the window. There's now resources, like you're going to get a massive upset here and there, but it's just not in today's football, it's probably not going to happen as often.
Yeah. You kind of have a tug of war at the moment between the elites that control the future of the sport, wanting to move it drastically in one way, and then the savants like ourselves wanting to keep it kind of where it is. So we're at a tug of war right now, and we're losing. And by doing that, we're letting them pull us in a different direction. So It's either adjust and find ways to, counteract these things, or just, be pulled with the tides, essentially.
Yes. They know what they're doing. Like we said, all right, what's your next one?
I would definitely go to say salary caps. I'm not sure if that's a feasible language of it, but there should definitely be a spending cap for programs because
cap. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for a team like Texas Tech, who has all the benefits of being in Lubbock, Texas, and all the other, conference opponents not having that, crazy oil, whatever money. It does I feel like there should absolutely be a cap on how much you can spend on a roster. I think it would go better for coaches as well, because it forces them to be more intentional instead of just hoarding, talent, hoarding transfer portal talent, hoarding high school talent, and just, being able to pay for it, whereas other teams just can't.
Right. Yeah. I think another thing is I'm not going to I don't 3-loss minimum, 3-loss maximum for the college football playoff. I'm sorry. You can't lose 3 games and be in the playoffs, or more than 3 games. You can lose 3 games. You cannot lose more than 4. You shouldn't even be in consideration. Is that fair?
Yeah. I would honestly be more radical. I would say 2-loss.
Then let's make it 2. If you lose 2 games, you're out. I'm sorry.
Oh. Sorry, you meant 3 losses and you're done.
Yeah, like if you lose 3, like 3 losses, you're out of the college football conversation, like playoff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree.
I think that's generous, but I'm not going to sit here and have an argument about a 4-loss team being in the playoff. I don't care if it's 24 teams. I don't care. If you want to devalue, if you want to reevaluate or value the regular season, institute a loss limit for the playoff and be like, I'm sorry, you've exceeded the amount of losses. You have to have some matter of consistency. I don't care what conference you're playing in or what you're doing. You can't be losing a fourth of your games. It's not the NFL, right? And I don't like whenever people make a comparison. Like the NFL, everybody's getting paid. The talent's evenly distributed. There's a salary cap. They play 6. This is not the NFL,
right?
Like if you lose 3 losses, you can't have 3 off days. You can have 1 or 2 off days and still get a break. But losing has to matter.
No, absolutely. And then losing in the regular season, especially.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You want to make the regular season matter? 3 losses.
Yep. I could get on board with that for sure. As just a general rule. It already kind of is that, but we see like Texas this past year was 9-3. They had
here they come.
Outside chance. Yeah.
Your stupid show. Here's Texas. Why not Texas? Like, I don't know, dude. They've lost.
Don't lose to Florida. You don't lose to Florida.
It's
simple as that. Yeah.
You know, beat Florida, USF in Florida. Like they did it. Anyways, what's your last one?
I'm trying to think between a couple.
We can add another one.
Okay, then I would say
top 6. It's our show.
Yeah, I would say do a universal conference game minimum. And I would just set it at 9.
Okay.
Universal 9 conference games schedule.
Games played minimum. 9.
And just because there's some is it the ACC? I can't remember which one still has the 8 team, but it's like
it's ACC.
I get it. It's like you don't want to play more conference games, but everybody else does, and everybody else, reaps the benefit and the negative of it.
Yeah.
Like Texas has to play a gruesome schedule this year, 9 conference games. Why shouldn't Wake Forest?
Yeah.
I feel like that just makes the most sense instead of having Clemson play Furman, Central Michigan, Tulsa, and Florida Atlantic in the out of conference. I don't know if they do that, but why not have every single team in college football at the FBS level play the same amount of conference games. I feel like that just makes the most sense out of everything.
Yeah. I agree with that. Well, you need what we're trying to create is a framework of objectivity. You need to be able to compare. Like when you do any type of research, you need consistent variables, right? You can't have fluctuate. That's why I get so mad with this whole damn system is you get so many variables that change throughout the year or throughout every year. And it's like there's no framework. One year they'll sit up there and say this year we're looking at game control and we're looking at strength of record. And I'm like, you can't change it every year and they get mad that the system is like, it's flawed.
Yeah.
You have to have, that's why I loved conferences so much before they started ruining them, is that it was something you could go back to and be like, hey, we know that you played in a conference, was a town of the same node, but you executed the plan every week to go through that. And that shows us a matter of consistency. Not, hey, you're the most talented, but it showed us that you consistently did what you were supposed to do all the time.
Right.
Every week.
Right.
So you have any more you want to add?
Yeah. It would just be another one would just be getting rid of human decided playoff formatting or postseason formatting.
You're just saying eliminate the committee. Let's just say it.
Yeah.
Eliminate committee.
Well, but if you say eliminate the committee, it's like, okay, they fire the committee and then they add a new one. So mine is just computers. Just use computers. And it's like people will still be like, oh, but the strength of schedule that the computer's using are imbalanced or something. But it's like, okay, are you going to argue with a computer about it? It's like you can argue with people. You can argue with Florida State getting left out a few years ago. You can't really argue with a computer, in my opinion.
No.
There's no if the computer thinks SMU should get in over Alabama, they get in. If a computer thinks Alabama should get in over Florida State, they do. To me, when you add that weird human element, there's end
bias.
Up with the Florida States happening.
Bias.
Like you end up with Florida State losing their quarterback, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we did add a stipulation 6 years ago without anybody noticing, where if your quarterback gets hurt, you're done. It's like, what? Yeah. Why would that be a thing? That doesn't make any sense. They went undefeated. They won their conference title without their quarterback.
That makes no sense.
So
you can't because in other scenarios they wouldn't do that. That's the issue everybody has. Like
if it was reversed.
Like good and well that if it was Alabama that lost their quarterback, there is absolutely no reason a 13-0 Alabama that won the SEC, if they lost, Jalen Hurts, they'd be like, yeah, we can't let you in.
Right.
So
it's silly. That would honestly probably be my biggest one. I'm trying to think. There probably is, and I'm just not thinking of it. We touched on salary cap. We touched on, I think, the big things. To me, the biggest thing is just fixing the schedule. I think once that's out of the way, that's like, it's kind of like being in a messy room. It's like you can't get anything done if you're focused on how much trash or like you have clothes all over the floor or something. It's harder to focus on the things that are important when the environment around you's all completely messed up. And that's from the decision makers in college football. It's the athletic directors, it's the coaches, it's the players, all of it. It's completely unsustainable. So I think that would probably be my biggest. I don't know if that would be I could argue most important. You could also argue committee, anti-committee being most important, but both. I think those probably go a little bit hand in hand.
Anytime there's a collection of people that are a governing body, they're going to be influenced by money because there's lobbyists.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
No. Yeah, and none of those people happen to be people that care about the sport.
They don't. It's just like Goodell in the NFL. Like he's expanding the global. He's like, why are we playing? We're going to be playing football on the moon like soon. Like he's, we're going to be Ricky Bobby, Fig Newton. Guys are going to have Fig Newton strapped across their visors on their football helmets.
How do you feel about college football in Brazil?
Yeah, right. Yeah, dude, right. Because everybody who gets the 15 games a year definitely don't want to have the game that they can go to. Give it to somebody else, right? We don't want to pay the taxes for the NFL stadiums and then have the games moved away from there. Like we don't want our taxes raised to do that.
Right.
So let's just take home games away from cities where people pay taxes for the stadiums. Idiots.
Right.
don't give a rip about the fans. Anyways, that's a pretty good list, dude. If we come up with more, then we'll add more.
Absolutely.
Hey, man, I've taken up more than enough of your time, and I'm so grateful that you stopped in and talked football on a Saturday morning. It's almost like football was back on a Saturday. So
can't wait.
I really, really appreciate you jumping in. I know you got to go. We got a big weekend. Hey, and I guess people are listening to this right now. It's Monday morning or Sunday night. So everybody have a good Memorial Day. I'm going to put up one more time, your the Twitter information where people can come and follow you. And I appreciate you stopping by. You got anything else? Anything else?
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you for inviting me on. It was a ton of fun. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah.
And also, I was scolded by a West Virginia fan. Are they the Nears or are you guys the Nears?
Oh no, we're the Nears. Let's play it. Let's play, dude. I don't even spot the ball, dude. In a parking lot.
I'm down for that.
I've had that argument
decided on the field.
That's what I'm saying. That's what all these should do. You know what? I forgot one on our list. Make rivalry week great again. Give us back rivalries.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Give us some rivalry week. Okay.
But I appreciate it. It was a ton of fun.
Great. Everybody go follow 0and0Sports. Go follow the YouTubes, all the links, and we will see you later this week.
See ya.